And that's an interesting one, especially since we know that that's a very vibrant sector of the economy that's supposed to not only give revenue to the economy, but also to create more jobs. So now that we have a kind of a streamline, so to speak, of who is supposed to be doing what, and we have regulators in place, do you think that we're going to see an improved revenue generation from that aspect of the economy?
Well, absolutely. We should be looking at revenue generation in the proper perspective without sacrificing efficiency and competitiveness. One would like to see Nigerian ports playing the pop status position in the region. Don't forget, 60% of the economy of West and Central Africa is domiciled in Nigeria. Don't also forget, Nigeria has the largest coastline as a country in the West and Central Africa. Over 900 nautical miles, over 8 coastal states, 572 plus kilometers of inland waterways. That's a huge natural resources. Nigeria continues to play the dominant role in this respect. Having said that, we believe that within the shortest possible time, we shall start to see an increase, using a popular word, a gain of concessioning.
Well, at one time, I know that the LCCI actually advocated a reduction in the number of agencies that witness cargo examination, but the number has been reduced to 7 a few years ago. Do you want the number to be further reduced?
Well, actually, what we would like to see is a greater reduction in the number of agencies doing business in the port, because we need to have interconnectivity in the port system. We need to have a port community that are connected electronically so that you don't have to come to the port to do majority of your business.
And so you reduce the traffic within the port anyway.
Face-to-face interface will be reduced or eliminated. The port is an economic zone. It's a restricted economic zone. It's not all users' domain.
Well, Mr. Folarin, hold on to your thoughts there. We'll come back and continue the conversation. And when we come back, we're going to look at how having this new port economic regulator is going to impact on the environment, or the environment, so to speak. Yeah. Business Morning continues in just a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Business Morning. It's the final lap of the program for today. I've been talking to the chairman, Nigerian Ports Consultative Council, Mr. Kunle Folarin. We've been taking a look at some of the latest developments in the maritime sector with regards to the ports in particular. He's still here with me in the studio. Thank you so much for sticking around, Mr. Folarin. So let's take it off from your assessment of the maritime environment vis-a-vis the operations of the council since it assumed its role.
Well, I must say that they hit the ground running very quickly after the pronouncement. They were in the port, they were in the terminal, they were in the bonded terminal, they were in the off-dock terminal, they were having several meetings with interest groups, and tried to make a connect and strike a strategic alliance with the key players. And I think that is key. The engagement this council had with key players has resulted into having a feel, a pulse of their issues. And that is one of the planning strategies, I think, that was good that Nigerian Shippers Council adopted, feeling the pulse of stakeholders. And also to see the domain where the action is taking place. They go to the port terminal, they go to customs, they had issues with everybody. And then at the end of the day, they were able to map up an agenda to follow. I have seen a case whereby complaints have been addressed very quickly, more rapidly than before.
How quickly? What's the time frame now?
Well, the time frame from my own perspective is shorter than what it was before. I will say that it was less bureaucratic. It's more pragmatic now than before.
Mr. Folarin, sorry to take you back,
Yeah.
but you know, it's really, really interesting when you throw out information like that. A lot of people who are listening are wondering, okay, so we have a council who is resolving, you know, dispute, has a dispute mechanism that, you know, takes care of issues in quick time. So
Yeah.
what was it before and what is it now?
Absolutely, it was more bureaucratic, and particularly that they don't have the mandate by law before then. People believe that, yes, you can help us, but they see you as helpless because there's no legal regime, there's no legal statute on which you can say, this is the basis of my intervention. When they now have announcement or pronouncement or appointment as a regulator, officially a regulator, then it was quite spelled out that they have given the Shippers Council this mandate. And that probably enhanced their profile in the public domain. That encouraged stakeholders to feel, well, maybe we can now relate to these people now. And they have no choice. They have to put away bureaucracy. They have to take their mandate seriously because the expectation of people is huge.
So in putting aside bureaucracy, how many days, if I have an issue as an operator or as a dealer, so to speak, in the port, if I have an issue, if I come to the council, how many days will it take for the council to resolve my challenge?
I believe, given the complexity of the issue, because some issues you have to really consult with about 3 or 4 agencies before you have a resolution. Some issues are very easy to deal with, piece of cake. You can deal with only one agency and that settles it. But some issues you have to really go and discuss with about 4 or 5 agencies because there's so many interventions in the system. You have a process of cargo clearance that will involve customs, has to involve the quarantine people, the NAVDAC people, the SOM people, and then you have to have, where is this issue situated? At the end of the day, you will now be able to help the customer or be able to solve this question. But basically, I would still think that it should not take more than 2 weeks to solve the problem.
Now, there are areas of improvement. Are there areas of improvement on the part of regulating the activities of the ports that you'd really like to see, and which, you know, is actually capable
let me
of
say very
actualizing
clearly,
government policies?
We must be able to make a distinction between port charges and port cost.
Ah, yes, that's another one.
Port charges will come from the tariffs of various agencies operating. The tariff of the quarantine service will be different from the tariff of NAVDAC, for example. The tariff of Nigerian Ports Authority, who is regulated under the new arrangement by Nigerian Shippers Council as an economic regulator in terms of tariffs and charges. But then also, you must know that it is not only port charges, which is within the primary control of the various service providers. What about port cost? That is what we are looking at. Port cost goes beyond charges for operating in the port. Port charges will be like taxes that are paid by people who are providing services in the port or users of port services themselves. Port charges could be marine charges, the cost of vessels, ships coming into the port. Port charges will be the cost of maritime security in the port. Port charges will come with the infrastructure and the superstructure that needed to be provided in the port. Port cost is a huge element in the total cost of doing business in the port. So we have to look at port cost and not dwell only on port charges in order to make the economy realize the aim of government in appointing a regulator and doing business and do concessioning of the ports.
Mr. Folarin, thank you so much for coming on the program and sharing your thoughts with us. Mr. Kunle Folarin is the chairman, Nigerian Ports Consultative Council, talking to us on some issues within the maritime sector. Let's just get that story. The Nigerian Electronic Fraud Forum 2014 report is being unveiled today in Lagos, and Channel's business news correspondent Tempo Ashajo is tracking that story. Tempo, thank you so much for joining me on the program. What's it like? Has the report been released?
Thank you, Harriet. The report is about to be unveiled now, but you know the people that are the keynote speakers are here, and Zikwa Fasokun is the chairman of the Nigeria Electronic Fraud Forum has given a speech, and he noted specifically that the report focuses on the methodology and approach that members of these of NET basically have actually taken in the year 2014 to combat cybercrime as well as electronic fraud in the Nigerian financial market. He noted specifically, just like the MD of Diamond Bank, Uzoma Dozie, also stated that technology failure is being orchestrated by electronic fraud and cybercrime. So basically, the annual report for 2014 focuses squarely on the actions, the steps that members, risk managers, as well as on the National Security Advisor's Office and payment company providers have taken or done in 2014 to ensure that cybercrime, electronic fraud, and technology failure is reduced to the barest minimum in the market, in the system, so to say.
Well, Temple, quickly comment on this. We have got less than 30 seconds. So I want you to quickly say, in this report, was there the number of fraud cases given?
That has not been put together. The NET members say that they are they've done a documentary that will air on 3 major TV stations across the country. It is in that documentary that the Nigerians will get grasp of the numbers of cases that we had in 2014. But the actions that they took in 2014 to combat fraud, which they themed fighting the battle, winning the war in 2014, is what we have in the report. Specifically, the figures will be revealed in the documentary that will be showed on national TV stations, and that includes Channel Television as well. All
right, Temple. So we'll keep our eye and ear open, waiting for that report. But thank you so much, Temple, for coming through on the program. Temple Ashaju, Channel's business news correspondent, and that's where we're going to leave it off on the show today. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I'm Harriet Agbenyi. Have a great weekend.